I feel like it's appropriate that we have to keep that banner below there until 10 days from now, where Roma go to the Europa League final against Sevilla, against Monchi, the former sporting director. And that makes a magnificent subplot. I'm Wayne Gerard. Guys, thanks for joining me. There's a lot actually to talk about today. It might just seem like a filler match, this and Fiorentina, before this one, before the final. But I promise you, there's still a lot to look at, as well as some free agents that Roma supposedly have their eyes on, but nevertheless, it's important. So let's take a look at them. Let's start off with taking a look at the Serie A standings right now. Of course, Napoli's in first, Juventus second, though, 69 points. Right behind them, Lazio, who's going to pick up a win against Udinese with 68, and then 66 is Inter. So it'll probably finish just like that. That's my intuition at this moment. Milan sitting in fifth at 64, Atalanta in 61, and Roma at 59. Of course, they are one game back at this point in time. But the one thing that is kind of bothering me is that fifth spot is probably going to be the one that goes to the Champions League. And when you look back, yes, it's frustrating at moments and matches, supposedly seemingly easier matches that Roma should have picked up a win. And then, you know the rest, what happened there. But the fifth place, it's looking like Juventus will be punished by UEFA, and that Champions League spot will open up instead of fourth or whatever Juventus gets. It will be, at this point in time, Milan. And Atalanta honestly impressed me a lot this season. Of course, they played a lot less than Roma, but here they are, and they had a decent season. They played some decent football, but once again, that rest is really that depth, what really affected Roma from finishing in the top four places. Now, you could look at Lazio and say, look, they went out a lot earlier. They had that extra rest, that extra time to build up. They kept their star players in action. No wonder why they're sitting in third right now. Begs the question, right? Because I know that it's often like fans just be like, oh, this is a terrible Serie A season. Yeah, I get that. But on the flip side, you got to put it into context to realize that it's a very long season. Roma lost so many players in the process of going for two competitions and fighting that two-front war. It's really played its role, its hand against Roma. And recently, too, it's affected Roma. So in the last two matches, Roma has failed to score. That was the defeat to Inter, and then last week's 0-0 draw with Bologna. And this could be the first time that since 1994 they have failed to score 3 matches in a row in Serie A. Salernitana, though, just as well, haven't won any of their last 7 away matches. Roma has beaten them their last 3 times. It's the only 3 times, as a matter of fact. They're safe in 15th. Paulo Sousa went on a tear when he joined this team in February. They went on a 10-game unbeaten streak, and now they're going to play another season in Serie A. They're a team that actually I like to play. The stadium is interesting to me. It's the starting point of the Amalfi Coast. I've spent time in Salerno, and their fans are super passionate. They're going to bring a lot of energy and traveling away, of course. And the way that this team plays under Sousa, though, is they go for it. I'm thinking of Candreva's match winner against Atalanta last week, and they don't give up. They have a bit of the same characteristics mentally as does this Roma that Sousa has been able to employ in them. Let's take a look at the starting lineup. But before that, though, I want to go back and just say that there's some good news. El Shaarawy returns. He'll probably be on the bench, along with Llorente, who gets back to business here after his injury. Also, it's going to be Mourinho's 150th Serie A match. And with 84 wins under his belt, that will take him above Simone Inzaghi and Fabio Capello. So with just one more victory, I should say. And sitting alongside Maurizio Sarri will be that 85th. So right there with Lazio's coach, and only below Antonio Conte, who has 102 Serie A wins. So it's a lot. His fellow ex-Chelsea managers there. It's pretty nuts to see those two have such an illustrious career between the two. But in my opinion, Mourinho's a better coach. Salernitana, possible starting lineup. Ochoa, who has been massive since coming over, a Mexican shot stopper, is unreal. I've been watching some of his games in full, and he single-handedly has kept Salernitana in so many matches. La Granata, the maroon team. Lovato is the defender there with Gyomber. Gyomber still doing his thing after his loan at Roma. Seems like a very long time ago. Pirola in the back. And then in midfield, Mazzocchi, a dangerous player. Koulibaly, really good center midfielder, along with his partner, Vilhena, who I rate these two. Bradaric then makes up the rest of the 4 there. And then in the 3, you've got Candreva, Dia, and Piatek. Piatek will play, I think, his 100th Serie A match here, but Dia, 15 goals, the third most in Serie A. I want to take a look at his stats as I pull them up here for you. So being that third, total shots 37, goal conversion 41%. That's the highest of the top 3 here, as well as his shot accuracy. Minutes per goal 162, but goals per 90 just over 0.55. It's very high, and 6 assists on top of that. So he's actually he's an extremely dangerous player. You don't want to play against Dia. And what just stands out to me is that conversion rate. Guy gets a chance, a sniff on goal. Look at the amount of total shots. If we take Osimhen, 97 versus Diaz, 37, 60 less shots, yet he's got only 8 less goals. That's a crazy stat there. So Boulaye Dia, the man surely to watch for Salernitana. Okay, let's take a look at the Giallorossi. 3-4-2-1. There's going to be a big turnover. Expect that. I do, however, think that there's going to be 3 guys in particular who are going to stay within this starting lineup. That's going to be Cristante, Mancini, and Pellegrini. Mourinho does not want to rest his senators, his old guard at this point. It's weird to say old, but they're the guys who have really held it down for Roma this season. So let's start. Svilar is going to replace Patricio, and then we've got Ibanez, Cristante, Mancini. Then Zalewski, Bove, Tahirovic. I'm thinking we'll get to start with Misori. Misori played last week, hardly put a foot wrong. Looks like he could have a future in Rome as well. Up top there, the captain, alongside Solbakken and Belotti. I think Belotti gets the start ahead of Abraham just because I think that Mourinho's number 1 is Abraham, and the guys that he foresees starting against Sevilla, he wants to keep them playing the least amount of time as possible. So that's why I think Belotti gets the start here, and Solbakken ahead of Dybala for sure. I don't even know if Dybala is going to play at all. Maybe Fiorentina next week. It's very one of the spaces to surely watch. On the other side, though, it's important that Dybala does get a run of games in, as does Smalling, right? Because you don't just want to throw a player back in after over a month out, because it takes time to build that chemistry. Will Kamara play for Pellegrini? I think that's one question I have here. And will El Shaarawy get minutes? I think yes, along with Smalling and Dybala. So I do think so. Regardless of the scoreline, I think that those 3, Smalling, Dybala, and El Shaarawy, do have a bit to play in this match. Away from this match, there's been a lot of smoke and no fire yet regarding some of these free transfers. And you know who I'm talking about. Aouar, who seems so close to the club, report after report. But then Ndicka, the defender, looks somewhat likely, somewhat possible, free transfer again, as well as Tielemans, who's been at Leicester. And he's been having a pretty decent season, opposed to Leicester, who've been having a bad one. So even in these rough times, Tielemans has been a good defender, the Belgian center midfielder here. What does that tell me? Well, with Aouar and Tielemans, it surely says Mari Kamara is not going to be here next year, and I don't think Wijnaldum is either under these conditions, right? But what it would do is gives definitely a long-term lease and a stable scenario where this midfield can really grow, because now you'll have permanent players, they're young enough, and you can truly build off of them. And I think that they have a lot of talent between the 2 of them if these 2 guys come in. And with the optimism that it would have if Jose Mourinho is here or not, regardless, I think that they could really elevate the long-term quality of the midfield. Ndicka also, I think this is an excellent one-on-one defender. He's big, strong. It's exactly the center back that no striker wants to play against. So we'll keep an eye on this, especially going into the summer. We'll probably do a special soon after the season, taking a look at all the free transfers and the players that Pinto will probably have his eyes on. I also want to give a shout out to the SPQR kit from 2016. It was just came up to me, this conversation on Twitter, and I'm looking at it, and it's one of those things. It's definitely the one that got away from me. That kit is so beautiful. I have to think that really it's probably the most beautiful kit ever made. Do you agree or disagree? Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Put a like up there too. Give a subscription if you haven't joined yet. We're going to be putting out a lot of content. And of course, we'll be back for tomorrow's live stream following Roma Salernitana. Let's get it, guys. Talk to you soon.